Well, hello everyone. This is Jamie Silver with Herff Jones Yearbooks and Varsity Brands. Welcome to November. Boy, the school year is just flying by. And speaking of, a major event coming up just around the corner is JEA. If you are attending, please feel free to stop by the Herff Jones booth. I'd love to see you. As you may or may not know, it hasn't been in Chicago for many years, and I think last I heard the registration was up to like 6,300. So there's going to be a lot of students and teachers from all over the U.S. It's a great event. I will be sharing more about it in the next month's episode. But for this month, November, I did want to share a couple how-to videos. And this first one is all about portraits. So I recorded a quick little video. I'm going to share that with you now, and I will be right back. Well, hello everyone, this is Jamie Silver with Herff Jones, and I wanted to make a quick video here to share with you the process of uploading a portrait CD. It's just one of those common questions I get when we receive our CD from our photo studio. How do we get it into the program, into eDesign? So I wanted to kind of walk you through those steps real quick, and you'll either get this as a physical CD, or honestly most photo companies are now sending it via a link that they email that to you. You're welcome to share with us if you need help, but essentially you download the same files from their website rather than a CD. But some are still doing CDs, so I borrowed one here and I just want to show you how to go through this process. So the first step, when you open the CD up, you'll notice that it kind of looks like an odd format, but if it looks anything like this, you're on the right track. It's formatted to, again, that PSPA. It's a standard of the industry that we've all agreed to with the school photo companies, and they prepare it in a way that works with eDesign and automates it. It brings in your last name, first name, grades, really classrooms, teachers, anything that was collected at Picture Day. So the first step is we're going to make a new folder, and I'm just going to call this PSPA. And we're going to open that up. And one of the little tricks that I've learned over the years is to do a select all on these files and drag and drop to copy. Sometimes there's some invisible files that we need to make sure get copied. So you copy those in, and the next step is to compress it. Now, with the magic of a little video editing, I just cut this up real quick to make it a little faster. It only took about 5 minutes. That will depend on, how many students are in your school and all that. But once that's done copying, we're going to close both of these folders. We're going to right-click on the new folder we made, and we are going to tell it to compress that folder. And what it's going to do is it's going to make it a zipped file, .zip, as you see there. And then once that's complete, we can then upload that directly to eDesign. So once that's compressed and we're ready to go to eDesign, we're going to open up eDesign. I've logged in. We're going to go to Library, Portraits, and now we're going to go to Import Items, but this one that says Portrait CD rather than Portraits. We're going to click on that, Browse. We're going to go to our desktop, find that new compressed file, open, and upload. And at that point, it's going to bring in the file, all the formatting, all the names, and within a few minutes here, it's going to kind of unpackage that into something that we can work with. So again, in the interest of time, I did do a little editing, but that process took about 10 minutes or so to upload this batch of photos. Then we get this green icon that says upload complete. If you have anything else here, it'll give you an error. Please copy and paste the error, send it to me, send it to tech support. We can give you a hand in finding out what happened there. But essentially what it's done is it's brought all the photos in, and the next thing you want to do is click on data view here and review the first name, last name, grade, teacher. Again, all that information that the photo company captured for you at Picture Day should be here listed under data view. So when it comes to flowing the pictures, please, you don't need to type names, type grades. This is highly automated. The next steps, and I have some videos to share with you on that, but essentially it's coming in here and really just proofreading everything and making corrections. And it's as simple as clicking and typing. So grade and all that, making these corrections in the library. And then the next steps are to float on the pages. You simply tell it, in short, hey, I want 6 photos across, 8 down. I want my names over here in this font size, and it does it for you, and it kind of automates that highly. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions about the next step as far as proofing and flowing on pages, let me know. Have a great day. Okay, I hope you found that helpful again. And the one I'm going to share next is all about the Message Center and sticky notes, and just a couple helpful tools to help you all communicate within eDesign. So I'm going to share this video real quick, and I'll be right back.
In this tutorial, we'll cover how to use 2 great communication tools in eDesign, Sticky Notes and the Message Center. First, let's take a look at Sticky Notes. Sticky notes are a way that the advisor, editor, and staff members can communicate about specific items on pages. Open a spread in Page Design, and you will see this tool along the left-hand side. This is the Sticky Note tool. Click to select the tool, then you can click and drag on the page to draw a new sticky note. You can reposition the sticky note so it points at the object on which you would like to comment. I'll zoom in on the sticky note so we can see the text more easily. You then type in the sticky note the comment or the question that you have about the object or the page. The sticky note is a non-printing object that will be saved with the page. Then, when anyone opens the page in Page Design, they will see this note. Sticky note messages are also automatically posted to the Message Center, which we'll talk about in a moment. Any user can create and edit sticky notes. Edited notes store both last edited by and created by separately, and display both in the note header as the creator name / last edited by name. Users set with either the staff or editor roles cannot delete a sticky note unless they created it. If you're using the sticky notes to request changes, users have access to a checkbox to mark the sticky note completed once the work dictated by the note is done. The main component of the eDesign home screen is the Message Center. The Message Center allows any staff member to post a message that can be read by all other members of the Yearbook staff. To add a new message, just click the Post Message button. Type in your message, up to 300 characters, and click Post. The name of the person posting the message appears in the first column, the message appears in the second column, and the date and time of posting appears in the third column. If the message is too long to fit on one line, you can click on the More link to see the full message. If you are logged in as an advisor, you will see the red Delete button to the right. Only the advisor can delete messages, which makes staff members accountable for the things they post and helps ensure that the Message Center will not be abused. Beside these staff messages, there are also system messages that post to the Message Center that come from eDesign itself. For instance, you will be notified of upcoming deadlines and notified when pages in the latter change status. If you would like to filter the messages, you can do this using the Filter menu at the top. You can choose Staff Messages to see only messages posted by the Yearbook staff and filter out any eDesign system messages. And vice versa, you can choose System Messages or Deadline Reminders to filter out any of the Yearbook staff messages. You can also choose to only see the messages contained in sticky notes. Those have the sticky note icon and show the page number on which they are placed. When a checkbox on a sticky note is marked, the sticky note icon in the message grid on the home page changes to show a check mark next to the sticky note message. If a sticky note is deleted from the page, the message is automatically removed from the Message Center. As you begin to work heavily on your pages, you may get quite a number of system messages in the Message Center. If you would like to clear them all out, here is how you as the advisor can do that. Switch the filter to System Messages. Click on the first system message, hold down the Shift key, and click on the last system message. They will all then be selected. Then hit the Delete key on your keyboard. You will be asked to confirm the deletion. Click OK, and all of the selected system messages will be removed. And those are the basics of using the sticky notes and Message Center in eDesign.
So I don't know about you, but I found those simple little sticky notes very helpful, and I love how Adam showed you that you can choose on that pull-down menu, deadlines or staff messages or whatnot. So feel free to use sticky notes as you like. For the next demonstration, I'm going to share with you a video on spread history. Now, if you haven't used this in the past, it's a great tool. It's kind of like an unlimited undo. So I'm going to show a little video here that explains it, but for those of you who may have used Photoshop and you have the history palette, think of that as an analogy here, except you get to go back in time to every time your page was saved and go back to that view. So it's really great, especially if you're collaborating and working together on a page or a yearbook spread. Every time someone works on a page and saves it, it's kind of time-stamped with their name on it, their time, and then you can always go back and return to that status. So I'll share that little video here, and I'll be right back.
The Spread History function in eDesign allows you to revert back to a previously saved version of a spread. To access Spread History, open a page in Page Design. Let's say, for example, a student saved this version of the spread, but the advisor or the editors decided that they liked the way the spread was before. No problem. Go to the File menu and choose View Spread History. In this window, you'll see a listing of all the previously saved versions of the spread listed by the day and time the save occurred, the person who saved the spread, as well as an indication of which pages were edited. To view one of the previously saved versions, select it in the list and choose Open. You'll then see the spread as it appeared at the time of the save. You then have a couple of choices. If you like this version, you can go to the File menu and choose Save as Current Version. That will make the version on the screen the new current version of the spread. If you don't want to keep this version, you can go to the File menu and choose Back to Most Recent, which would revert the spread back to the way it looked when you started. Or you can choose View Spread History again, choose a different version, and open it. This is a great safeguard that should give you peace of mind knowing that none of your work in eDesign is lost. You can always get back to the way a spread looked before. This can also be a great design tool. Create one version of the spread and save it. Then feel free to experiment with other versions. If you save each version of the spread, then you can review each version with spread history and pick the one you like best to keep. And that's how you use spread history in eDesign.
Boy, I could have used that when I was on Yearbook. It wasn't nearly that easy to just save, multiple copies, as Mark shared there. So it's a great idea, as he mentioned, from a design perspective, just to experiment, try different looks, different templates, and being able to always go back and forth depending on which one looks right as you kind of revisit it with a fresh eye, perspective the next day. So that's spread history. The next 3 videos I want to share with you are all about images and using our built-in image editor. Now, for those of you who have Photoshop, this does not replace Photoshop, but what it does do really well is it takes some of those basic and most common functions we see schools doing in Photoshop and brings it right into eDesign. So you don't need to purchase Photoshop, or you may not have it installed on a particular computer. Again, because eDesign is in the cloud and it follows you around, any internet equipped computer, you also have access to these basic editing functions. So I did want to share a few videos with you. This first one is just kind of an introduction to the editor, and then we dive into one specific topic a little bit deeper, but I'll be back in a few minutes.
eDesign provides a powerful set of built-in image editing tools. In this tutorial, we'll cover an overview of these tools. You can launch an image into the eDesign image editor from the image library or from the library panel in Page Design. In this example, I'm in the Page Design area, and I'll open the Images section of the library panel. When I locate the image that I'd like to edit and hover my mouse cursor over the image, I see a pencil icon in the upper left corner. Clicking this pencil icon will open this image in the image editor. I could also right-click on the image and choose Edit Image. eDesign then generates a temporary version of the image and passes it off to the image editor. The changes that you make in the image editor will not affect the original version of your image. When the image editor opens, you'll see along the left side the various editing options: cutout background, color splash, red eye correction, color filters, and exposure. When I click on one of these options, the related editing tools and controls for that effect appear. Along the top of the interface is the zoom slider, which allows you to zoom in on the image. When you're zoomed in on an image, you can use the pan feature to move the image around within the window. You can click the pan button to the right of the zoom slider and your cursor will appear as a hand. You can then click and drag on the image to move it around within the window. There's also a great shortcut that will make panning even easier. When you're using one of the editing tools and you'd like to reposition the image in the window, you can press and hold the space bar. This will give you the pan tool on the fly, and you can click and drag to reposition the image. When you release the space bar, you're returned to the tool that you were previously using. To the left of the zoom slider are the buttons to undo or redo recent actions. I'll jump ahead to a completed color splash effect. For more information about the color splash effect, see the tutorial listed on screen. When you've completed a particular effect, you have the option to apply changes or discard changes. Applying changes updates the temporary image that you're working on and allows you to switch to another of the effect areas. Choosing to discard changes would take the image back to the way it appeared when you first began applying this effect. When you're ready to exit the image editor, you should use the buttons in the upper right. Save and Return will save the changes made to your image. When you've completed your edits and you're ready to exit the image editor, it's not necessary to click Apply Changes before clicking Save and Return. In fact, clicking both buttons causes a duplicate saving process and could make saving the image take longer. When you're done with an edit, you can just click Save and Return. Cancel and Return would cancel all changes made in the image editor and return you to eDesign. I'll choose Save and Return. Depending on the size of the image and the complexity of the changes, you may see a progress bar like this one as the image is processed. When the process is complete, the edited image will appear in the image library. Back in the image library, you'll notice that the original image now has a purple highlight around it. This is an indication to you that there are edited versions of the image in the library. Let's jump ahead in time to when a few more versions of the image have been created. If I want to see all edited versions of an image, I can right-click and choose Filter All Edited Versions. This reveals the original image and all the versions of that image that have been created. If I wanted to filter the image library for all edited images, I can use the Filter By menu and choose All Edited Images. If I just want to see the edited versions that I have created, I can choose My Edited Images. One last thing. Let's say I use this edited version on a page in my book. The image version that was used on the page would have the normal In Use tag. All other versions of the image have this tag, indicating that a version of the image is in use. This is a great additional feature to prevent you from accidentally using a duplicate version of the image elsewhere in your yearbook. And that's the basics of using the eDesign image editor. The additional tutorials listed on screen address the application of some specific effects.
Again, a great tool that is always there for you with some added benefit of having control over what's in the library instead of trying to manage files like you might be doing on your computer locally. So image editor, great tool. It offers you a lot of the basic things that we see students using something like Photoshop for. One of those that I want to dive into a little bit more are cutout backgrounds. That's something that we commonly see. And these next two videos kind of highlight using our image editor to do just that. So I will put those on and I'll be right back.
In this tutorial, we'll look at the basics of the cutout background function in eDesign. The tutorial listed on screen gives introductory information about the image editor, and it's recommended that you view this introductory tutorial before watching the current one, if you've not done so already. Locate the image that you'd like to use and click the pencil icon to launch the image editor. The scissors button opens the cutout background function. The 4 cutout background tools are listed in the center column, and then the tool settings appear in the right column. In this tutorial, we'll give an overview of the cutout tools, and in the next tutorial, we'll look at some additional techniques for making cutouts. There are 2 brush-based tools for creating cutouts, the Cut tool and the Restore tool. The Cut tool essentially erases areas of the image. There are 2 brush shapes that you can choose from, a circle and a square. You'll probably use the circle brush most often. When I click and drag over portions of the image, the pixels in that area are erased to transparency. That is what the gray and white checkerboard pattern means, that those areas of the image will now be transparent. In the same way, if I switch to the Restore tool and brush over that area, it restores the areas that I had previously erased. I'll go back to the Cut tool. I have control over the size of my brush with this slider. Click and drag to make the brush larger or smaller. The preview at the bottom shows the size of the brush as I make the changes. I can also click at a point on the scale to jump the slider to that spot. You can use a larger brush when erasing over large areas of an image, and you can use a smaller brush when you're trying to do more detailed work. Here's a great tip. If I click with the Cut tool, and then press and hold the Shift key, and then click again, a straight line is drawn from the first click to the second click. This works great when cutting out items with straight edges, but it also works great around more curved shapes. If I hold down the Shift key and make a series of clicks, I can pretty easily follow the contour of a more curved shape. The hardness setting changes how feathered the edge of a brush is. At 100% hardness, the brush edge is very sharp and crisp. A hard-edged brush would be good for cutting around objects that have a very defined edge. As I move the slider down, the brush edge becomes softer or more feathered. A softer brush would be good for cutting around parts of an image that are slightly out of focus or that have a naturally softer edge. Adjusting the opacity controls how much of the background a brush erases or restores. Setting the brush at 100% opacity would completely erase the affected pixels. Setting the brush to, say, 50% opacity would only erase the pixels to 50%. The opacity setting does have a cumulative effect, so that if I continue to erase over an area with the partially opaque brush, I will eventually erase the area completely. Most of the time, you'll leave the opacity set to 100%. The Restore tool functions in just the same way as the Cut tool, but it restores areas of the image rather than erasing them. You will see, however, a few additional options. These options would only be used when trying to restore part of an image after you've applied one of the color filters and you want to restore a particular version of the image. The three other tools are the selection tools. Let's start with the Marquee tool. With the Marquee tool, you can click and drag around a portion of the image to select a rectangular area. Once the selection is complete, you'll see these two options, Erase Inside and Erase Outside. In this case, I will erase outside to erase all the areas of the image outside my selection. I'll click Undo to restore the area I just erased. I'll now switch to the Lasso tool. The Lasso tool allows you to select a free-form area. With the Lasso tool, I click and drag around the areas that I want to select. Once I get back to the starting place, I release the mouse button to complete the selection. When the selection is complete, I'll see the erase buttons just as I did with the Marquee tool. I'll click Undo to restore the area. Now we'll look at the Line Lasso. This tool allows you to select an area by creating a series of straight lines. You click once to start the selection and then click again periodically to draw a new selection line to that new point. Once you click back on the starting point, the selection is complete and the erase options appear again. One thing that's important to note about all three of the selection tools: the selection cannot extend outside the image window. If the selection outline crossed the edge of the image window, you would not see the erase buttons appear. We'll look at this a bit more in the cutout techniques tutorial listed on screen.
Okay, so in that video, Mark showed you basically all the different tools and how to cut out the bat, as you saw there. In this next video, as he alluded to, we're going to talk more about techniques, so I'm going to jump into that.
In this tutorial, we'll put the cutout background tools to work to create an actual cutout. I'll narrate the steps that I followed to create the cutout and highlight a few tips and tricks along the way. This tutorial is a follow-up to the two shown on screen. It's recommended that you watch these tutorials now if you've not done so already. I'll select the image and click on the pencil icon to launch the image editor. I'll then click the scissors button to activate the cutout background tools. I want to isolate the guy in the foreground here, so I'll first use the Line Lasso tool to make a rough selection around the subject. I'll click at each point that I want to drop a point and connect to the previous point. I'll keep the selection away from the edge of the image window since the selection outline cannot touch the edge of the image window. When I click back at the starting place, the selection area is complete and I'll see the two erase buttons. I'll choose to erase outside the selection. This gets rid of the bulk of the background. Since I lost a bit of the subject when I did the erase outside function, I'll select the Restore tool and paint back in this area. Now I'll use the Cut tool to cut out the edges. First, I'll zoom in using the Zoom slider. I'll hold down the spacebar to get the Pan tool on the fly, and while holding down the spacebar, I'll click and drag to reposition the image. Once I release the spacebar, I'm returned to the Cut tool. I could just click and drag around the subject that I want to isolate to cut out the edges, but there's a great shortcut that you should put to use. If I click, hold down the Shift key, then click again, I can draw a straight line between the two clicks. Putting together a series of short lines can help me easily erase along the contours of the image. I can just hold down the Shift key and click as necessary. I'm going to go up to the top and click Show Transparency As and choose one of the colors instead of the checkerboard pattern. This can make it much easier to see if you're getting the edges cleanly or if there are any stray parts of the background remaining. The color is not included in the finished image, it just appears in the image editor to help you out. When I come to a finer detail area, I can make the brush size a bit smaller to get into the finer areas. If the edge was a little soft, I could also adjust the hardness value to give my brush a softer edge. When I need to reposition the image window, I'll hold down the spacebar again to get the pan tool. I'll then click and drag to reposition. When you release the spacebar, you're back to the cut tool. I'll jump ahead in time when I've successfully cut out around the perimeter of my subject. I'll now make my brush size a bit larger and start cleaning up what remains. When your cutout is complete, simply click Save and Return to eDesign.
Well, I hope you found that helpful. Again, just some overview of the image editor, but then more specifically on a cutout background and some of those tools that are built in for you right in eDesign. So today we've talked about uploading a portrait CD, putting the sticky notes and the message center to use to help communicate between everyone on the yearbook staff. We looked at spread history, a great way to go back in time, either intentionally or whoops, like an unlimited undo kind of feature. And then we looked at the image editor. So I hope you found those helpful. If you have any questions about those topics, please do let me know. If you have any topics you'd like help on more specifically, as always, please let me know. And hope you have a great November. Happy Thanksgiving in advance. And I'm sure we'll talk soon. You have a great day.